and welcome to episode 16 of the Crochet Circle podcast. This episode is called Common Thread. I want to start with a bit of a catch up because I always forget to introduce myself and tell you who I am and where I'm from and a little bit about my background, and I just get so excited that I launch straight into the podcast. So, my name is Faye and I live in Cheshire in England, even though the accent is Scottish. I've lived down here for a long time now, and I've been crocheting for coming up for 3 years, so I don't consider myself to be an expert by any means, but I'm really passionate about it and really passionate about crafting, and that's one of the reasons I do the podcast. So I don't proclaim to know everything, but I do investigate quite a lot because I have quite an inquisitive mind, so I like to know the answers to things, and then I share those things on the podcast. You can find full show notes at www.thecrochetcircle.podbean.com, and I'm probably most active on Ravelry within our podcast group, which is the Crochet Circle Podcast, and also on Instagram, and the Instagram name that I do most under is crochet_circle_podcast. And I also do bits and pieces through my company as well, which is Knit It Hook It. The company is called Knit It Hook It Craft It, but on Instagram I am Knit It Hook It. So go and find me there as well and see what else I'm up to. So that is me, that is who I am. And then I just wanted to, before I launch into some of like the standard parts of the podcast, I just wanted to have a quick catch up on some of the bits and pieces that have been going on. Now, first of all, I'm going to touch on Edinburgh Yarn Festival, which seems like an age ago now, because really it was a couple of months ago almost. But I was planning on doing a video on Edinburgh Yarn Festival. Actually, it was so busy, and when I looked back at the footage, there just wasn't enough to go at. I didn't feel like it was good enough for me to put out under the banner of the Crochet Circle podcast, and also by the time I got to it, I really probably felt like everybody had had enough of hearing about Edinburgh Yarn Festival, and so I haven't done it. But what I did want to say was a massive hello to everybody that came and saw me, and I got to hug and meet face to face. It was really, really lovely to meet people like Anna and Clarissa Beth and Charlotte. There were just so many people. It was lovely to meet you all, and have a little bit of a podcast meet up as well. So there will be more on Edinburgh Yarn Festival in the future for 2018, but I propose to just leave it there because it's been well talked about, well documented. So if you want to know what the festival is like, I would suggest you just type into YouTube, because everybody and their dog put up a video about it. And the other bit of catch up that I wanted to go through was Wonderwool Wales. So this is a festival that has just been, not last weekend but the weekend before, and it's a really lovely festival, and I was vending at it this year for the first time ever. And again, lots of you came and said hello, and just it was lovely to meet so many podcast listeners, and you were coming and showing me what yarn you bought from the festival, because I couldn't really leave my stand other than to go to the toilet. But it was nice to have other people bringing their goodies to me so I could see what else was available in the festival. I basically saw from where I parked the van to unload and then to reload and then the path to the toilet, and that was pretty much it. At Sunday late afternoon, I managed to do a quick wander over to John and Juliet, to the John Arbon stand, of course, and have a chat with them, and that was pretty much as far as I managed to get. Now, what I have done with Wonderwool is taken some video footage, but from a different angle. So rather than looking at it from a consumer point of view, because that's not what I was there doing, I've taken videos of what it is like to be a stall holder and to show the setup process, and I tried to take a little video pretty much every hour, and what I'll do is go through what it means to vend, how much it cost, how long it took me to do the setup, how long it took me to do the takedown, so that if you are somebody who makes, or somebody who has a company and you're wondering about what it is to vend at a place like this and what the time commitment is, then please go and take a look at that video. That one's not as time sensitive for me to get up, so it might be a couple of weeks before that one gets up onto YouTube, but I'll let you know when it is up there. But hopefully it will give you a good insight into what it means to vend at a yarn show, and they're all quite different. And then the other bit was I have just come back from Amsterdam and it was lovely. There's quite a lot going on in our household at the moment. Not bad stuff, like nothing between Matthew and I, but Matthew's work situation is a little, shall we say, fractious at the moment, and it means that we have got the potential to really change up a lot of our life maybe in the coming months. So there's rather a lot that's going on, a lot of mental capacity that is going towards that at the moment, and also just from doing all the prep work in advance of Wonderwool Wales, then doing Wonderwool. So by the time I got to Amsterdam, I was ready to flake out, and I managed to get a lovely weekend in. We met my dad over there. He flew from Glasgow, and Matthew and I flew from Manchester. We arrived within like 5 minutes of each other. It was brilliant, and I got to spend a really lovely weekend with my dad in Amsterdam. We went to a gig on the Friday night. On the Saturday we went and had a nice late brunch, and yeah, it was just wonderful. It was a lovely relaxing time, and my dad and Matthew had gone to a gig on the Saturday night as well, and they were saying, well, what are you going to do? You can hang about in town. I was like, no, I'm going to put my pyjamas on, catch up on podcasts, and I'm going to sit and crochet. And that's exactly what I did with a glass of wine, and I had the nicest time on my own in somebody else's flat. And come Sunday morning I actually felt like I was back up to fighting fit and not so tired, and just kind of put my little battery level back up. So yeah, Amsterdam was wonderful. And again, I've taken quite a lot of video footage of that, in particular when I was in Stephen and Penelope's shop, which is Stephen West's shop. So I will be trying to edit that and get it up on the same day as this goes out, but that might be a bit of a tall order, so it might be a couple of days afterwards, because I also have to edit down the Tunisian cowl video. So yeah, I don't quite know what pecking order they were coming. I feel that probably the cowl needs to come first, then Amsterdam, and then Wonderwool Wales. Of course the podcast has to take precedence first. So if you are interested in any of those things, they will all be up on YouTube shortly. But yeah, the one in Amsterdam is quite cool. We got some good video footage when we were over there. And I think that's kind of the catch-up section. That's what's going on with me, rather a lot as usual. Nothing stands still for too long in our household. And yeah, busy but good fun, and lots of really good stuff that could move our lives on, hopefully. So, given that I've just spoken about it, let's move on to the Tunisian cowl. It finished on the 16th of April. Now, I have to issue a general apology at this point, because when the cowl was finishing, it was just at the point where I was really heavily gearing up for Wonderwool Wales. It took me about 2 to 3 weeks to really get ready for that show, and I just didn't have any time to myself. Even when you were all having lovely Easter weekends, I worked Friday, Saturday, Sunday and the Monday, and the first time that I got any time to myself to crochet or do anything that wasn't Wonderwool Wales related was at 10 o'clock on the Monday night. That gives you a good indication of how busy I've been. But what that meant was I wasn't really on Instagram, or definitely wasn't on Ravelry, so I wasn't dealing with the threads for the crochet along, and I feel really badly about that, but there really was nothing that I could do about it. So I've been in there today, I've done a full catch up on everything, and I just love the projects everybody came up with. They are so varied, and even the variations on the same pattern, you couldn't pick any of the cobbled streets cowls out. None of them look the same. They're all just so different. We've got stripy ones, we've got variegated yarns, we've got all sorts in there, and it's a joy to go and have a look at. So please do go and look at the finished objects thread on Ravelry, and also if you go to Instagram and type in hashtag TCC Tunisian cowl, then you'll get to see all of the work in progress and the finished objects that are in there too. And it's it's really an inspiring thread to go and look at. It's full of beautiful projects, lovely yarns, and I have to say a massive thank you, because everybody that was involved in it they were so helpful and so happy, and the Ravelry thread and on Instagram everything was helpful, and everybody just went out of their way to explain what their process was or help somebody if they went in and had an issue, because many of us were learning Tunisian crochet for the first time, and quite a few of us needed a bit of help, and there were some core people in that group that had more experience under their belt and helped a lot of us out. In particular, thanks to Jen and Tamara, and also to Shawl, who was helping us head up the CAL. She came in with help and advice to people as well. So fabulous CAL, and like I said, all of those details will be on the CAL video, and then I'll get in touch with the prize winners separately as well. But my intention is to record that straight after this podcast, but we'll see how long I record for. So that's it on the Tunisian CAL. And then just a quick thing to tell you what the next one is going to be, and this will kick off on the next podcast, which is due out on the 2nd of June. And the idea is to run a CRAL rather than a CAL, and it's a craft along, and it's all about sorting out your whips. So not starting new projects, and it could be anything. It could be patchwork, quilting, decoupage, crochet, Tunisian crochet, knitting, spinning, anything, tatting, rug making, whatever it is. It's going to be about assessing your whips and working out what it is that you want to do with them. And my theory is we will run this throughout June, July and August, which in the summer months when people tend to do less crafting anyway, there's certainly a slowdown in the amount that people buy. But what it could do is totally refresh your finished objects and your whips before you start gearing up for the next kind of crochet season and crafting season, which generally really starts gearing up in September and onwards, when people start talking about colder weather. I know, shameful, we've not even got into summer and I'm already talking about colder weather. But the idea is that you get out all of your whips and you assess them. Then you work out what it is that you want to do with them, and you would have 3 months to finish off as many of them as you can get through. So I have got 3. I have a crochet one, a knitting one and a cross stitch one, and come the end of the 3 months I will have each of those done. So what I might do is pick one off each month, and I really have to get one done every single month. So that's what I will be working towards. And in the June podcast, what I will do is go through some hints and tips on how to frog well, and if you don't want to do a project anymore, what else you can do with it. So some charity shop options for you, or other ways to pass them on and means of passing them on. So that it's not a case of binning stuff, it's making sure that environmentally you're doing the soundest thing possible. And in the background I'm also working on a pattern that could work for projects that you have frogged back and then you don't know what to do with them. And it's a kind of a mathematical pattern that will work for an amount of yarn that you've got. So there will be lots of help and lots of good pointers in the next podcast, ready for the CRAL, which is going to be called the Festival of Finishing. Which I've stolen that by Margraf on Instagram and Ravelry. She said I could steal it, but she did trademark it. She called something the Festival of Finishing, and it was at the same time that I was thinking of this idea for a CRAL. I was like, ooh, maybe I shall steal that. And she said, well, I will have to trademark it. And then she pinged it back to me with a TM beside it. So, Festival of Finishing will be our next crochet along, but you've got a good month before I will start that one. There are quite a lot of knit alongs and crochet alongs going on at the moment, so it's time for a breather before we start again. But in the meantime, what you could be doing is looking at all of your whips and getting them prepared for it. Right, the other thing that I should mention is this podcast recording I have remembered two essential things. One is my phone, and the other, apologies, jangle, is my keys. Because I don't know if you watched right the way through or listened right the way through to the end of the other podcast, you'll note that I got locked out of the house by my husband. He bogged off somewhere, I don't know where he went, and I think I was locked out for about an hour. So, lesson learned, I'm out here with my phone and my keys because I'm not being locked out again. I would like to move on next to a book review. Now, this book review was actually ready last time round. Lovely Jo, who's Jojo Twinkle Toes on Ravelry and Instagram, has done it for me. But actually, I wasn't on top form last month when I did the recording of this bit, and I wasn't happy with it. And I also couldn't find my copy of the book. I have since found it, and so it felt better to slot it in here rather than to put something in that I felt was a bit bungled. It's never where I want to go. So the book is the latest one from Kat Golden and Joanne's Grace, and it's the Shawl project, and this is their third book of shawls. Now I have it in hard copy, which was £12 and £1.50 postage and packaging, but you can also get it electronically. So you can get it from their website, and I'll put links into the show notes, and it's also available electronically through Ravelry. And it's a book of 5 shawls. And I asked Jojo whether she, Jo, you don't have to be Jojo. I asked Jo whether she would review it for me because I knew that she'd already done a couple of them. One she'd done as a test crocheter on the Tunisian crochet shawl, and the other she'd done after the book had come out. So I figured, given that she's done 2 of the 5, that's that's a good amount of experience of working with this book to be able to review it for us. And I'll just quickly go through the ones that she has done. So she's done Fog Break, which is the one that uses a V-stitch and also broomstick lace. It's a really beautiful pattern. Since this book has come out, quite a few people have made it. It's been very popular. And then the other one that she's done is the Temperamental Artist, which was one that it's actually a Tunisian crochet pattern, and again that was done for the Tunisian Cal. Salops did it. A really beautiful version in gradients of blues. Really lovely version, very similar to the one that's in the book. So she's had quite a few techniques under her belt in doing these 2 patterns. So she's made 2 of the 5, and I asked her whether she's likely to make all of the 5, and Jo's point was that yes, there's not one shawl in the book that she wouldn't want to make, so she will, I say gradually, but Jo has got the fastest crochet fingers I've ever seen. So like by the time I've recorded this and put it out, Jo will have made all 3 of the remaining ones. But she'll make them all, and therefore feels that it's really good value for money, because for just over £2 per shawl you've got some really good shawl patterns and really good instructions as well. She said that the patterns were easy to follow, so long as you read them thoroughly and make sure that you digest the information there. As with many of us, Jo also has a tendency to rush ahead and get really excited about a pattern and quickly jump the information and get in there and just start doing it. Hands up, I do that almost every time because I get so excited about a pattern. And Jo says with these you're best off just making sure that you read all of the information, because it's full of lots of really good, potentially new to you techniques. And she said once she'd worked that out, then basically the shawl crocheting became much easier. She said that the instructions for the broomstick stitch, were very clear, but as long as you read it through thoroughly first. I asked her also whether she managed to get tension and gauge, because a lot of people don't manage that. She said that she did, but she had to really keep a loose tension on her work, especially with the broomstick stitch, to make sure that it stayed loose enough, because you're working with a needle and a hook to create that effect. but because she was mindfully keeping it loose, it actually worked for her, and she got gauge. She didn't need any technical support for the 2 shawls that she did, and nor did she use the yarn that was stated in the pattern. She came up with a different yarn that she was using from Mollycoddle Yarns, and she actually came up short, but as it says in the pattern, that's not an issue because you can just decrease and increase as you see fit, so long as you're within a specific stitch multiple. And we'll go into those details because of course it's a paid for book, so it's unfair to give more on it than that. But so coming up short in yarn really wasn't an issue. So if you were looking at doing one of those patterns, then that would be interesting, because if you're just short with using some stash yarn, then you would know that actually you could still make it work for you. She said that there were charts in 2 of the patterns, which are really helpful. If your mind is led by diagrams, mine can be very much at times, where if you put something in words I will gloss over it, but if there's a diagram, something that my brain can just quickly read, suck in the information and then go. So charts are really helpful for me. So there are 2 in the book, and she said it would have been helpful had there been charts for fog breaks, so she would have known where to place it in the V-stitch, and also for the broomstick stitch. So although she managed it, she had to do a bit of finagling on the mathematics behind it and measuring it out to make sure she was getting it right. And had there been a chart, she would have found that easier. But other than that, there's nothing that she would have found more helpful about the book. She's really enjoyed doing them. She thinks that they are great value for money, and I will pop photos up of the 2 shawls that she's made because they're really beautiful. And yeah, Jo is a very accomplished crocheter. She's speedy and she's very good at what she does. Her projects turn out beautifully. So if you're in the market for some new shawls, then yeah, recommend going to the next shawl project by Kat and Joanne. And the other thing that I have to mention that Jo says, as always, the photography is absolutely beautiful. The photography is generally done by Kat Golden, and it's just gorgeous. She's got such a fabulous eye for the detail, and thanks to Jo for doing the review and being so understanding when I ballsed it up last time, then had to come at it again this time. So thank you. Let's scoot on to Old Dog New Tricks. I'm really loving this section, by the way, and what I particularly love it is if other people come up with good suggestions of little tips that they know that maybe other people don't, and that's exactly what has happened this time round. There's a lovely lady called Claudia who is Crochet Luna on Instagram, and she also has a new podcast which I will get to in Big Up. And Claudia really loved the Old Dog New Tricks that I had last time about using continental knitting as a way of speeding up my colourwork crochet, which it has helped massively, by the way. I've been doing a lot of colourwork stuff, which you'll see in the FO section, and the continental knitting has just transformed my ability to do colourwork crochet. It's just incredible the speed at which I can now do that. So I reckon I'm probably 30% faster than I was previously, given the amount of work that I need to get through. That's no bad thing. So Claudia got in touch via YouTube and said, well, have you come across this technique? And I hadn't, and so I went straight to YouTube and looked it up and thought, oh, that's a bit special. And some of you will have heard of this, absolutely for sure, but others will not have done. And you know when you come across something that you didn't know about and you think, but it's so simple, why didn't I know that? That's how I felt about the chainless foundation row as well. And what it is it's a stitch which is called a standing double or a standing treble, and of course in American you can also do standing double or a standing single if you're using US terminology. And essentially what it means is when you're working either in the round or on a granny square, instead of chaining up in a new colour to start in that new colour, it's a way of almost recreating a treble or a double to start off that new colour, and it looks far more accurate. It's more like having a treble or a double. It's ever so slightly different, but it doesn't stand out like a sore thumb like I feel starting the round, fresh new round with a chain does. I always think that you can see it, and quite often it leads to a bigger gap because it's thinner than a normal stitch would be, and I really hate that. It's so I'm so chuffed that I've got a way around that now, and I've been testing it out and it works. It's really fantastic. So what I'm going to do, rather than me showing you, I'm going to pinpoint you towards some videos that I found that were really helpful. They're by a very well-known lady called Tamara Kelly, and she has a website called moogly.com, and I think it's Moogly on YouTube, and she shows you very efficiently how it is that you can do, she'll call it a standing DC because she's from the US, but it is essentially a standing treble, and then I'll also provide the link for the standing SC, standing double for UK terminology. And it will change the way that you look at adding colours in the round, and also how you look to adding colours in a granny square. Totally change the way you view it and start to close those gaps up for you, which are always so very, very obvious. Now what I would like to do is also do a little bit more investigation on that one. So it might be that this is the same old dog new tricks next time round, and I just haven't had all the time to do it within this podcast. But I would like to see if there was a way of using that technique even when you're not changing colours. So when you're moving up to the next round, is there a way that you can do essentially a standing treble or a standing double to start the new round, so again it looks like the same stitch rather than a set of chains? So I need to do a little bit more work on that. But I will add into the show notes, and I'll pop up onto the video, is a couple of coasters I made, as you do. We were in Amsterdam, as I've already talked about, and we were staying in a really beautiful apartment. It was actually an Airbnb, and really like gorgeous apartment, but he didn't have any coasters, and I don't want to keep on putting teacups and wine glasses down on his table. So I thought, well, I know, we've had such a fabulous time here, and I have to go to Stephen and Penelope's, and therefore I will just make him up a couple of coasters. And at the same time, what I'll do then is take some photos. I'll use the standing treble, and I'll take some photos for the podcast, and then I can show you how the two things look differently. So I did one with the standing treble and one with the standard chains, and you'll be able to see the difference between the two. I'll put arrows to them as well, so you can see exactly what the differences are. But yeah, I'm really impressed with that little technique. So I'll come back with more on that next time round, but in the meantime go and have a look at it, because it will completely change the way that you view adding new colours into a round and into a granny square. It's much neater, and visibly much neater straight away as well. And if any of the rest of you got any tips or tricks that you think most people don't know about, let me know. I'd love to hear them, and then I can do some work on them, and then hopefully that's another section for Old Dog New Tricks in the future. Just like this idea of learning something new every month and being able to bring it to the podcast. So thank you, Claudia, for making me aware of that one. It's totally changed the way that I deal with that technique. I wouldn't choose to ever go back to just chaining 2 or chaining 3 to create the next round or the next row of a granny square. Thank you. That moves on rather nicely to finished objects. And one of the things that I finished with those 2 coasters for Jan, and to leave in his flat as a little thank you. Now what I used for that was a new to me yarn, which is by BC Garn, and it is a 50% linen, 50% cotton mix, and it's called Alino Cotolin. Really lovely to work with. It's soft because of the cotton, and I suspect it would wash really quite nicely and soften up more, although I didn't have time to do that for the ones that I left for yarn. Now I bought 3 colours because I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do, so I got a kind of a beige top and a mustardy green colour. There had to be mustard in there, and they complemented each other really nicely, and I thought they were a good way of me just giving him a little something to say thank you in something that wasn't too expensive a yarn. So I bought this in Stephen and Penelope's shop in Amsterdam. And of course I've got loads left, but I will find something to make with these. I just thought the colour combination was really nice, and I'll pop a photo into the show notes of those. But if you're looking for something that isn't just cotton and isn't just linen, then it may be worth tracking down and trying the Alino. It's lovely and soft, and it comes in a beautiful set of muted colours as well. So that was my first finished object. And then the other one that I did, which is actually a stash bingo element. Now you may remember me talking last time about the fact that I sent off a parcel to my Fibershare partner, and one of the things that she really said that she struggled to get in Australia was hedgehog fibres. And I had a skein of hedgehog fibres which was in my stash bingo, and so I gave that to her, and then what I did was replaced it with another skein of hedgehog fibres and popped that into stash bingo instead, and then that's what I have been working from. Now I have a photo of it, so I'll put a photo into the show notes, but for those of you that are watching on YouTube, I can't show you the finished object because it's been tested by my friend Martine. She goes cycling a lot, and what I have remade was, some of you may remember the Calm cowl, which was a colour crocheted cowl. Well, I've done exactly the same stitch count, but done it as a knitted pattern with ribbing at the top and at the bottom. And when Martine saw it at wool gathering last week, she was like, "Oh, I like that. Is it warm?" I was like, "Well, I'll tell you what, you test it and you can come and tell me." So Martine gave me a bit of feedback and said, "Oh, it's lovely and warm." So that was a mixture of the hedgehog fibres, which is a DK, but I actually think it's quite a light DK, and also the Debbie Bliss Rialto DK. And it's really lovely and soft and warm as a cowl. It's quite a tight one, so you know, when you don't want wind whipping down your neck, it's a lovely one to wear. So that's another of my FOs, but I wanted to show you this, and again I'll put photos in the podcast, because part of my acquisitions in Stephen and Penelope was a really gorgeous dark teal green colour, and it's Malabrigo. It's their Rios, which is, I think it's a DK weight, maybe just over, and it's colourway 412 teal feather, and it's really teal, it's beautiful, and it goes very nicely with my hedgehog fibres, which is called Dragonfly. And if you can imagine all of the colours, when you see dragonflies going past and they have that iridescent quality to them, and you get pinks and blues and teals and purples, that's exactly what this dragonfly colourway from hedgehog fibres is. It's really beautiful, and the idea is that mixed with the Malabrigo Rios and the column pattern will really pull the variegated dragonfly out as the stained glass, and then the Rios would be, because it's a much subtler, it's a semi-solid, I would say, would act as your leading and your window frames. So I need to remake column, because I recognise that not everybody wants bright blue and bright yellow as their pattern idea, and I think when knowing what I've done with the knitted version, people will love to see the hedgehog fibres and the Malabrigo version of the column cowl. So I may have that as a finished object for next time, but in the meantime I'll give you the photo of the one that Martine has stolen from me. She hasn't stolen it. She'll give it back to me. Maybe not, actually. Martine, can I please have it back at some point? And then the other finished object that I have, which I had to finish off this month round, is a pair of socks, and these are made out from one of the skeins that I was given by Rachel, who was my fibre share partner, who sent me the lovely, just such a lovely package. And I talked about it last time and I said, oh, it's Blumenweiss, I'm sure that means white, and it doesn't, it means like field of flowers or something, which, you know, is well explained because it's got cream and really bright orange and pink and green in it, and the striping is fabulous in these socks. But actually the company was called Wonderwool, so these were my Wonderwool socks, and actually what I managed to do was knit one of them up, and then I was using it as one of my sample socks on my stand at Wonderwool to show some of the stitch markers that I had for sale. So it truly was a Wonderwool sock, because it was used as part of the stand and it was admired by people. And every now and then when I had a spare moment, I think the first time I had a spare moment to do any crafting on the stand was about 3 o'clock on the Sunday, and the show shut at 4:30, and I think I managed to get about 5 rows in at the just below the cuff of my sock. So I rushed through this last night to be able to give you another finished object, and to say thanks again to Rachel for sending me such a wonderful parcel. It really was full of beautiful yarns and really beautiful presents, so I wanted to do her justice by having a finished object to show in this podcast. And now that I've shown them, they will be on my feet tomorrow. They're very warm, and yeah, I'm looking forward to having them on my tootsies. Quick slurp of tea. So one of the other things that I talked about last time round was the fact that the lovely Chrissy at Chrissy Crafts was doing a stitch along for her herb embroidery, and I used to do quite a lot of embroidery and a lot of cross stitch when I was younger, and I hadn't really picked up an awful lot of embroidery of late, and I was really enthused and encouraged by the herb embroidery that Chrissy had on show. And so I thought, well, I know, I didn't want it for something to hang in my house, so what I figured is instead I would use one of the plain calico bags that I had for the company that I was selling. And I thought, well, I'll just stitch onto a bag, and then I've got a really unusual bespoke project bag, and so that's what I did, and I'm so pleased with it. So I kind of supersized what Chrissy had put on the PDF, redrew it to the dimensions I needed for the project bag. This also suited me because I'm not a fan of doing embroidery with a hoop, which can have its own issues. Embroidery, like crochet, you can have issues with tension, and where I was doing the little French knots, I pulled on it a little too tightly a few times, but I backed off on that, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, I really love this little project bag. It's beautiful. And then it did have a plain calico strap, and I found some colour coordinating pink ribbon, and I added that as the strap instead. And if you've never done embroidery before, Chrissy has done such a fantastic job of putting up tutorials on YouTube on how you do each stitch. So if you've never done it before, it's such a simple process. Don't be discouraged by it, give it a go and look at Chrissy's tutorials, because they really are fantastic. And I love this little project bag. Again, I had this hanging up at Wonderwool Wales as well, and I could have sold it 50 times over. I was showing it as a means of, here are some lovely linen bags that I've had made, this is what you could put on them, but people just wanted to buy this one instead. And when I said, well, I could sell it to you, but I would have to charge you for my time, and therefore it would be about £50. No! Unsurprisingly, they did not want to pay £50 for my embroidered bag. And then come Sunday lunchtime, I actually just put it away, because although it was beautiful and being admired, it was more hassle to keep on telling people, no, I'm sorry, you cannot buy my bag. So Chrissy, if you've got a means of pulling a kit together and having the information printed onto a bag, I rather think that would be very popular alongside your tutorials, because there was a lot of interest in this at Wonderwool. Well, and also a lot of interest in people who just wanted to have this one because they couldn't be bothered. So yeah, another finished object, and now that I've shown that, that will become one of my project bags. It's perfect size for a pair of socks. So that is what it will become. And then my final one, and I've kind of kept the best one, well, I think the best one till last, is if you follow the podcast on Instagram, you will have seen that I posted this up at the weekend when I was in Amsterdam. And it's a bag that I've been working on. So initially this was just going to be one pattern, and I would just put it out there and see what happened with it. And unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, it's good news, but because I've done the process of creating one bag, I've then had a series of other designs that have come into my mind. So now what I'm going to do, I think, is pull together a series of patterns, but also sell them individually, because not everybody likes everything that you produce. So the bags will be available individually, or you can buy them more cheaply as a block of patterns if that's what you prefer. And you may or may not be aware of a bag system which is called O-Bag. It's by a company called Full Stop. And what they do, it's a very, very clever system. So if you haven't looked into it, I fully recommend that you do. They make rubberized bags. They're made in Italy, and they've got holes in them. And they also make liners that fit every single one of their bags. So that was me doing the zip of the liner. And then what they have is a screw-in system for the handles, which means that you can pop any handle of their making through the bag and the liner, and you can change your bag up. So you could put a different coloured liner inside, you could pop different handles on, and it's really easy to do. You just screw it on, zip up your liner, and away you go. So I've got a couple of these bags, of the O-Bags, in different sizes and different colours. I have a bright green rubber one, and I have a kind of what I would call sludgy coloured rubber one as well. And then I got to thinking, well, not everybody likes sewing linings into their bags, so how do I deal with that? Because I want to start making a bigger bag, but I want to have ready to go lining. And then I was using my O-Bag, and I thought, O-Bag, I know what I can do. And also, one of the things that I struggle with in the UK, and this may be different in different countries, it's really hard to get nice handles and nice buckles that suit the bags that you've made. And O-Bag have got so many handles, down to like patent ones, rope ones, leather ones. Most of them are faux leather, so if you're vegan, actually those handles are a great option for you. They've got felted ones, they've just got everything. They're really quite funky and stylish. And so then I thought, well, I can make a bag to the dimensions of an O-Bag so that it fits the liner inside of it, and I can probably work out a way of making essentially buttonholes crocheted in the round, which means that it would snugly fit the handles. And so that is exactly what I did. So the example that I'll put photos up will show you two sets of handles. So there will be a photo with the brown faux leather handle on it, which I really love, and I've just simply nabbed off of one of my other bags. And on the flip side, it has got a mustard, of course, a mustard coloured felted handle, which is really cool. And then there's also a mustard coloured felted liner that I have bought for another bag. But the felted ones come in teal, pink, black, all sorts of different colours, grey. So no matter what your favourite colours or whatever yarn you're using for this pattern, you could potentially buy from Full Stop, who sell worldwide and have shops as well. You could buy handles that you really want. So for example, there's if you live in Rome, there's a full stop shop in the train station. If you live down by Cannes, there's a full stop shop down on the south of France. They are all over the place. They're just the two that I happen to have visited. But I'm a massive fan of these bags and the interchangeable system. And so I'm now going to design this series of bags on the basis that you could put full stop handles into all of them and essentially create your own styled crocheted O bag. I'm really excited about this project, and I got such lovely feedback when I popped it up onto Instagram, and it's using colour work, crochet, and the yarn that I'm using, it's so easy to know what I would use, but it's John Arben's Devonia, and it's really good to work with, really good. I'm loving using this yarn. I'm now onto my second bag and my second batch of this yarn as well. The two colours that I've used in the bag that I'll pop a photo up are Ocean Rain and Amber Blaze. And I also used this bag all the way around Amsterdam, so for 2.5, more like 3 days, this bag was chucked about. It was on my shoulder, so it was rubbing, there was friction where I had it, and if this was in many other yarns, it would show massive signs of wear and tear already. But actually all there is a tiny little bit of bobbling in one patch, which is clearly where I was really wearing it up close to my body. So that was one of the reasons I rushed through getting this design done, was because I wanted to really test the yarn and make sure that it was going to be durable enough for what I wanted out of the bag. Because if I used alpaca, merino, really soft yarns, they would bobble and it just would not work for something that needs to be as hard wearing as a bag. But Devonia does the trick, it really works. So yeah, you do things sometimes that you are really proud of, and this is one of them. Now this won't be to everyone's tastes, but what I'm also working on, which you'll see in WIPs, is a very plain version. And I won't go into detail now because I need to finalise them, but I've got at least another 4 ideas. I had another one that came to me this morning, where hopefully there would be something for everyone, and not all of them will involve colour work. Some of them will be rows, so striping rather than colour work. Yeah, kind of watch this space on that one. Hugely excited about this project. Did not think last week that I would be working on a series of bag designs, and kaboom, there you are. That's the stuff that's coming through my brain next. So that's what you're all getting, folks. I hope you want to crochet bags, because that's the next load of designs I'm going to be working on. And if you've got any suggestions, then let me know. I will be working on different handle systems as well, so looking at what else you can generally get your hands on within the UK, and with every bag design I will try and work out an alternative way of having a strap or a handle other than those that you might just sew straight on, because then you would just omit the parts of the rows that I've worked out where you get essentially the buttonhole in. So yeah, watch this space. I'm quietly happy, well maybe not so quiet because I'm broadcasting this on a podcast, Egypt, but I'm really pleased with the bag and where I can see the other bags coming from, and they're all going to be designed using John Arben's Devonia, because now that it works, I know all of the other colours work for all of the other patterns that I have in mind. So so excited about it. Yeah, I'm not usually this excited about a project, and I really am about this. So that's all of my... Oh, it's not! What a total fabrication. I'm really good at lying to you lot. I say it all the time. That's it! And it's never it. There's always something more. I've got one final finished object, and that is my Ocasso shawl, which I was doing as part of the Tunisian Cal. Really pleased with it. Really love the final effect. It sits just enough around my neck. You know, sometimes shawls are just a bit too short. This one is just on it, which is not a fault of the pattern. It's me. I should have done more border rounds here, but I didn't want to break in massively to my second skein of Life in the Long Grass, so I think I only did about half the number of row repeats required for this bottom border. I will be putting up my normal set of notes in the project page for Ravelry. I just haven't done it yet. So if you're thinking about doing Ocasso, I will put up some hints and tips on there, and also the row counts, which I found really helpful. My silly cat has clearly just woken up and has thought, I know where she is. I'm going to come and annoy her. So I'll try and settle him in, and if he doesn't, I'll boot him out, and then we'll move on to whips. So I only have one whip to show you, which is quite unusual, but I'm trying to get to a point where I'm more monogamous with my projects and try to keep one crochet and one knitting on the go. And I just finished off a pair of knitted socks last night, the ones that I've just showed you, or just talked about. And then, as you know, I've got the 3, but I'm keeping them back now for the Festival of Finishing, so the TARDIS cushion, the Unkea shawl, and also my Shorelines blanket, so there's no point in talking about those. But my one whip I wanted to show you, this really should be in acquisitions, but Rachel, who is Rachel K Gifts, had these amazing bags that she'd put up on Instagram, and what she's done is appliqued little sheep onto them with lovely floral fabrics and bobbin threads at the top, and they're really beautifully lined bags, and I couldn't say no. And as it happened, Rachel lives down in Worthing, which is just along from where Jenny lives, and as it happened I was heading down to see Jenny that weekend to go and help her get her house ready for sale. This is about 3 weeks ago now, I think. 3 weeks ago. And so I'd asked Rachel if she had any spare and hadn't sold them all, could she take them to the place that she works sometimes on a Saturday, and then we would come along and see her, and I would be able to pick one of the bags. And so I picked one and Jenny picked one, and we both have a little sheepy appliqued bag. I'll add details of where it was that we went to see Rachel. She works in a space called Margot, which is on the shorefront in Worthing, and the whole concept is that it's little, almost like seaside front, not quite huts because they're more durable than that, but seaside front shop frontages, and they're little, and you have to be a local maker to be able to get one of those spaces. And the place that Rachel is in and the people that she shared it with, they make such beautiful things. Crocheted, some knitted, you've got all the stuff that Rachel makes. So if you're ever down that way on the south coast, I would say pop in and see Margot, because, well, not just Margot the shop, but all of the shops along there, the people doing beadwork, there's all sorts going on. It's a really nice community, and you know that it's local people that are crafting locally that you're buying from. So I'll provide links, but it's really nice. So inside the bag, you'll have to excuse the bell because my stitch marker is a little bell. Oh, that's maybe not a good thing when I have a cat on my lap. There's a lot of interest in that. But what I'm working on is the second bag, and this is a double-stranded bag, and again it's John Urban's Devonia that I'm using, and it's in a shade called Nightshade, and it's a beautiful dark purple colour, but it's heathered, so it's got almost glints of pink and blue in there. It's quite a subtle heathering, but as I was crocheting with it yesterday in the sunlight, and I thought, oh, now you look blue, no, now you look purple, no, now you look pink. It's got, again, almost like an iridescence about it. It's a really beautiful colour. And this bag is just really, really plain, because not everybody wants details, and sometimes people just want a very simple project to work on. And so it will just be straight up, there will be no increases onto the sides, and this will have the mustard felt handles on it. So it's going to be that gorgeous heather dark purple with mustard felt handles. And I will probably have that finished, I would have thought, by the end of this week. I don't have wool gathering this week, and I do have my pottery class tomorrow, so yeah, I would have thought maybe by the end of the weekend I will have this bag done. It's also something that I can quickly whiz through whilst I'm editing the podcast, so I need a kind of mindless project that I can quickly get through, and that will be the bag, because it generally takes me about a day to a day and a half to edit the podcast, take all the photos, do all of that stuff. So this will be my podcast project. And then the other thing that I wanted to show you, which is not a whip, but it's a future whip, because as soon as I finish the bag, I will be starting on this project. And it is in a bee bag, which can only mean one thing. It means that I have picked my colours for my Hotel of Bees project. Now, if you don't know about the Hotel of Bees crochet along that's going on at the moment, I don't know how you've managed to miss it, because it is everywhere. It's been run by Sandra at the Cherry Heart podcast and blog, and also by Sam at the Betsy Makes podcast. And it's a hugely popular crochet along. It runs for a little while longer. I will add the details into the show notes. And it's a beautiful shawl that is based on bees and honeycomb. Really lovely. However, me being me, I like the shawl, but I don't like some of the big open lace work that there is with the shawl. And so instead what I'm going to do is use the pattern. I've bought it, so I'm going to use the basis of the pattern to make a Hotel of Bees big long cowl instead, and use the pattern repeats just as a cowl. So that's what I will be working on, and I'm going to be doing that with Anna, Crochet Ninja, and Jojo Twinkle Toes, although she's already rammed off a Hotel of Bees, of course, but she's going to work on a second one. And also Helen Hellspells is going to do one as well, but she, like me, she wants to do a cowl rather than the shawl, so we're going to compare notes again. She's bought the pattern and we're going to compare notes on how we would both come at it. So it's quite interesting, because we've got a cowl inside a cowl inside a cowl, I think. But the colours I have chosen are, I think, quite different from the ones that everybody else has. Lots of people have gone down the kind of muted cream and mint colours, and I have gone for a very, very dark petrol blue, unsurprisingly a very bee-like mustard, and a cream colour as well. And the reason that I've chosen these is because two of them are, well, they're all from my stash, but two of them are precious stash, like very precious stash. And it is Outlaw yarn that I bought when I was over in New Zealand 18 months ago. And they've been sat in my stash waiting, and I only have one ball of each. It's 100 grams, and it is 45% Polworth, 45% alpaca, and 10% blossom. And this is just the softest yarn ever. And you know me, I'm not that fussed about soft, but this is just incredible. And I've paired that up because the weight was really quite similar and the softness was quite similar with Blacker Swan, their Falkland Islands wool, which is, I believe, 100%. It says 100% pure new wool, but I have to say I thought that it was specifically merino. It feels very similar to my Outlaw New Zealand yarn, and I think the three go really well together, and the cream is the one that I will be using most sparingly. So the real kind of punch out colours are the dark teal and the mustard, and then the cream, the blacker cream, is just to give a lift elsewhere throughout the cowl. So I'll pop pictures up on that, and I will add some into Ravelry, because not everybody does Instagram and not everybody on Instagram does Ravelry, so I try to cover them both. And I'll also put photos into the show notes, but I rather suspect that come next month that will be in my finished objects pile, which is why I wanted to mention my future whip now, because you might be looking to do another cowl and Hotel of Bees might be right up your street. So if it is, there's a hashtag running, and I think they're talking about it in their Ravelry threads as well. and I think they've got finished object threads already open for that. So Hotel of Bees, Dashper style is coming soon. And that is it for whips. More FOs and whips, which is the way it should be. So in this episode's Feeding the Habit, I've been a very fortunate person, and this is why I called the episode Common Thread, because through doing this podcast and being within the crafting community, I've come across so many more lovely people, and it is such a lovely community, and people always say that and say everybody's lovely, and I don't think that's true. Not everybody is lovely. I had a near fracas with somebody at Wonderwool Wales over a parking situation where I think people sometimes just get things a little out of perspective, but I've never been in a place where the vast majority of people are so kind and so caring and just so lovely, and that's reflected in the fact that I've had I've had 3 parcels turn up at my house from people who just wanted to send me like nice things and little bits of their life, and they wanted to share that, and I love that. It's so nice a thing to have turn up at your house, and to know that somebody's pulled together a parcel that's specific for you, and that they've thought about you as a person and as a crafter, and that they've wanted to send you things. So I'm going to go through that within Feeding the Habit, and also some of the yarns that I picked up at Wonderwool Wales and at Stephen and Penelope, all 4 designs. So the first thing that I wanted to show you is by, she's just the loveliest of people, and I'm going to try desperately to pronounce your name properly. I've even been on YouTube and looked at the pronunciation, because the last time I spoke about you on the podcast I definitely got it wrong, and I think it is Yael. Is that right? Please tell me I've got it right. Yael comes from Sweden. She lives in an area of Sweden that I know reasonably well, that I used to travel to for work, and we both have a love of Gotland yarn, and Yael makes beautiful beaded items. She uses organic cotton and lovely wooden balls and leather straps. And when I got this through the post, I was over the moon with it, and I've worn it a lot. And she's done it knowing my love of mustard and navy. She did me a navy and a mustard version, and it arrived in the post I think a week before I went down to see Jenny. Jenny has an 18-month-old boy, and when I was carrying him around, he was totally drawn to the beads, and they're very tactile. He wasn't sucking on them because he wasn't going through teething, but I can imagine that a teething child would really love them. But he was fascinated by the fact that they move and the different textures on them. He loved them. I think he'd have been quite happy if I left them with Jenny. But I'm going to order one of these for Jenny in her colours. She loves bright pinks and purples. So not only did she send me a really beautiful necklace, which has crocheted yarn around it, what more could you want? She also sent me some little nuggets of wool. So I have a really gorgeous mustard colour, a grey, and quite a nice, not quite a nice, I love brown, but if I say this, not a poo brown. it's like a dark oatmeal-y marled brown, not poo brown yarn. It's a nice brown, it's not a poo brown. And the other 2 colours that she sent me, and I really love this aspect, Yael was working on our first crochet along. She didn't quite manage to finish her team cardigan, but she was really busting out a gut to try and get it done at the end. And so what she sent me are the 2 colours of bits of yarn that she had left over from her team cardigan. So I love that I've got some yarn that came from a Crochet Circle podcast crochet along, and I will work them into something. So what I think I'm going to do is use some of the colours that Yael gave me, and mix it in with the Scottish thistle yarn that I got from Catherine at the Crafting and Treats podcast, because I think they go very, very nicely together. And what I will probably do is make it totally the wrong season, but it's what's come to my mind when I've seen these colours together, and therefore it makes me think that that's what I want to work on. But I'm going to make quite a nice thick headband, and I've got the idea kind of moving through my mind at the moment for the pattern that I would like. And what I will do is pop that out as a free pattern to anybody that would want to make the headband. So Crochet Circle people, you would all have access to that pattern, and it's a way of me then, somebody's been thoughtful enough to send me a parcel of lovely things, and it's a way of me then paying that forward to lots of other people. So again, that might be next podcast depending on timing, but yeah, that will become a headband, and I'm going to find something special to do with the mustard, because it's such a gorgeous mustard as well. And she also sent me some little brocade ribbons that are actually made in Sweden. Now, I wrongly assumed that every time I see these little brocade ribbons that actually they've been made in India or Pakistan, but these are actually Swedish ones. So I've got others in my stash which I'm fairly certain are Indian. So these ones are going to go into special stash because they're from closer to home and they came from Shawl. So really lovely. Thank you so much. She'd asked for my address and I was like, oh yeah, I'll send it to you, and then you know that you've got something coming. But I was honestly blown away when I opened the package. It was just lovely. And then when I was doing all the preparation for Wonderwool Wales, and I was right in the thick of it, and I can't tell you, I was doing like 16-hour days, day in, day out, to get ready, because I want things to be at a certain standard. And I was absolutely shattered, and then I got this parcel through the post which I did not expect whatsoever, but Tanya already had my address, and Tanya sent me through some more of her gorgeous Dorset button stitch markers. So now that I've shown these on the podcast, I am going to start using them. And you may remember last time round I bought one of her Dorset button bags when I was at Edinburgh Yarn Festival, where she sent me the little one which is like a notions pouch, as that a little extra. And I love these bags, they're so well made, and I love the fact that it's Tanya's Dorset buttons are on them, and that she's had the fabric printed, and they're completely like she's got a track on every part of their manufacturing, and I love that. It's everything that I do within my company, as much as I can. So I was a little bit emotional when this turned off. It sounds weird, I don't really do emotion, I don't mean that, but I'm not one of these people that I don't cry a lot. I have thoughts, but I tend to rationalise my thoughts, and by the time this arrived I was like, oh, I'm so tired and people are just being so nice to me. I wasn't crying, but I was like, oh, it was just what I needed. It was a proper pick me up, and I was absolutely shattered. So thank you, Tanya, very much appreciated. And I've got a scabby notions pouch that I keep my other hooks in. I use my paraphernalia one for larger hooks, but the ones that I use for my smaller stuff isn't very nice, so this is going to be swapped out, and I will have a very nice plush notions pouch instead. So they were the bits and pieces that I had sent, and then when we came back from Amsterdam I had another parcel which I won't show you, because actually what I want to do is work with the wool and then show you how it works up, and I'll do a proper yarn review. I finally got to meet Debs, who has got an online shop called Find Me Knitting. You've probably seen her marketing on Ravelry. It's really beautiful, really nice, and she's got some gorgeous yarns. She hasn't been open for that long, and she's trying to get a bricks and mortar store up and running as well, over where she lives in North Wales in Bettysacoid. I always say that wrongly, so apologies if I've said that wrong. Matthew always tells me off and tells me I'm saying it wrongly. So I think it's Betchesy-Coed. I might always say Betchesy-Coed and he says it's Betchesy-Coed. Having grown up in Wales for many a year, he knows better than I do. So she sent me nuggets of all of the different colours that she's got in her two dominant wools, which are Mary and Ada, and I will do a full and proper review on them because the colours are incredible. One of them is similar to the mustard that Yael sent me. It's really bright and vibrant, and yeah, I took some photos and put them up on Ravelry. And the thing with mustard is, once you see it in the picture, everything else just disappears because all you see is mustard. It's such a gorgeous dominant colour, and I know lots of people don't like it, but when you see it, that's the only colour that you will see, or at least that's what I'm telling myself, because I want to bring you all to the way of the mustard. Then of course I went to Wonderwool Wales, and as you all know, I'm only buying yarn at the moment that I'm going to use in designs. And I'm pretty good, I have to say. Most of the stuff that I've got, even since Edinburgh Yarn Festival, which was the first time I think really that I was buying yarn, I've done the designs with. I still have to finalise the design for Tanya's wool, but that's kind of tracking through my mind at the moment. I'm not quite ready to commit that one to paper. And then once I've done that, I've actually worked with all of the yarns that I got at Edinburgh Yarn Festival. At Wonderwool Wales, I think it was the night before I went, I came up with a new big kind of shawl, more of a pashmina design that I wanted to do using John Orban's Knit by Numbers. Now, I've talked at length about Knit by Numbers before because I think it's such a wonderful range. I think the pricing point on it is fantastic. It's £12 for 100 grams. And they do it in a series of colours. So what John does is start with the darkest of the colours, then he adds in a percentage of white, and then the next percentage of white, and the next, and the next, and the next. And what you end up with is a really beautiful gradient effect going from dark through to a much lighter, but they all work with each other because they've come from the same primary base colour. So I have this idea for this lovely big squishy pashmina using 4 different shades of blue, and so I got the yarn for that. I actually got yarn support from John and Juliet to be able to do that pashmina, so hopefully they'll like the pattern that I've done for them. And they also gave me yarn support for the Devonia nightshade that I'm doing the second bag in. So that was my John Orban haul at Wonderwool. And then the person that was in the stall to the right of me was a lovely, lovely lady from Bristol called Laura. And she was just upbeat, positive. She'd only learned the week before that she was getting into Wonderwool. I think they'd had somebody drop out and she was next on the list. And she's a teaching assistant. Luckily she'd been on half term, so Easter holidays, and so she'd been able to like dye yarn and sew her bags up and get it all ready for Wonderwool. Like, I think it's bad enough that I was working at it for kind of 2 to 3 weeks, 16-hour days. Poor Laura literally had a week to pull everything together, and then after the Saturday at Wonderwool, she'd sold so many bags that she had taken her sewing machine with her to her hotel room and was making more bags ready for the Sunday. That's how much she had to do, and her yarns were gorgeous. Her company is called Bilika Yarns, and she has an Etsy shop. She also does a sock club and various other bits and pieces, and the one that I bought from her is, I'm fairly sure it's an 80-20 mix, and it's got gorgeous jade green colours in it into bright, almost like purples and pinks and dusky blues, but it's almost like she's managed to put a speckle on each of the colours. It's like it's somewhere between a speckle and a semi-tonal. It's really beautiful. Now, I don't have a design in mind for this at the moment, but I didn't mind buying it because at Wonderwool, my best friend in the whole wide world, Jenny, came and helped me for the weekend. She'd come back from holiday on the Thursday, and come Friday morning she was ploughing her kids off onto her mum and dad, packing the car and driving from the south coast all the way up to mid Wales to come and help me do the show. And she was just smiley and happy and bubbly and worked and worked and worked, and she would not let me buy her anything. She barely let me buy her a coffee and her lunch. And so when she'd gone round to see Laura's yarns, I knew she would love this skein, because it's every colour that Jenny just adores. And I said, which one would you pick? She picked this one. And then when she'd gone away, I bought it. And the deal that I've struck with her, because she would not let me pay her or buy anything, is that instead what I will do is design a cowl for her using this yarn. Because then it's something that's specific to Jenny, and I can make it the length that she wants and the depth that she wants and with the pattern that she wants. And she loved that idea and thought that was far, far nicer than me going to another stand and just buying her something. So my gorgeous skein, well, not my gorgeous, Jenny's gorgeous skein of Billico yarns will become something probably in the next couple of months, but I need to be able to sit with Jenny and work out what it is that she's looking for from a cowl, and then I will design something up for her, which I agree, to me that's a nice way of me being able to say thank you to her, because then she's getting my design and my input and her input as well, and then we'll come up with something wonderful that hopefully she likes. Well, hopefully it will be wonderful and hopefully she'll like it. So yeah, that was my other purchase. And then, like, if you go to Amsterdam, it truly would be rude to not go to Stephen and Penelope's yarn shop, which is up in, I think, the Old Town area. I did try to go to another couple of yarn shops as well. One that I thought was a yarn shop, and it turned out to just be an area where they hold workshops. And then another yarn shop that apparently features lots of natural yarns, but that was way, way, way out at the train station in a market area. I was shattered, and I wanted to meet back up with Matthew and my dad, and then I wanted to go home. So I only did Stephen and Penelope's shop, but I was there for quite a long time and bought some things for designs. The first one that I want to talk about is, it was a completely new to me brand, and I think this yarn is so interesting. It's by a company called Onion. They're based in Denmark, and their website is www.onion.dk. And I've never come across this before. I understand the principle of it, it would work brilliantly. But it's 70% wool and 30% nettle fibres, and they have called this specifically a sock yarn. So I love the idea that there's something that's made of natural fibres rather than using nylon polyamide as your strengthening factor. They have used nettle instead. And what's really interesting about it, and I'll take photos and add these to the show notes, but the nettle fibres are quite grey, so it doesn't matter what shade of the nettle sock yarn you've got, you get this, it's almost like parts of it that don't dye, or don't dye as well, and so you get this really nice shading throughout the yarn. So I bought two balls of the dark grey and one ball of quite an acidic yellow, and I have an idea for a cowl design that I dreamt up whilst I was in the shop actually. I wasn't going to buy this, and then the cowl design kept on coming back to me, and I thought, well, maybe you should get it, because there are no stockists for Onion in the UK. There are a lot of them abroad, so I didn't think it would be that easy to get hold of, and I thought the pricing point was really quite good as well. It was only €6.50 for the 50 grams, and 50 grams is 185 metres. So this will become a cowl. I'll let you know how we get on with that. I'm kind of almost intrigued to, I wish I'd bought more, but I have to limit myself, because the other thing I would have bought it for was to actually make socks from it and to test it out, but then that would have gone against my no personal yarn for 2017, so I didn't do that. but this will be one for me to check out in the future. Have any of you used it? I'd really love to know how it does work as a sock yarn using natural fibres of nettle rather than nylon or polyamide. Because if it works, and it works really well, then this is a really good option for me. I would rather be using something that's natural as opposed to something that is man-made. So yeah, I'll let you know how I get on with that one, and if you've got any previous using that yarn, please do let me know. It's got some beautiful colours in it as well. I'll provide a link in with the show notes. And then if you follow Stephen and Penelope online, you will know that they've started stocking a new local dyer from Amsterdam, and they're called Undercover Otter. And I was just being a marketing sucker basically. Again, I've got a shawl design in mind for these two, and it is an 80% merino, 20% nylon. And I got a little bit attracted to the fact that they were bespoke colourways for Stephen and Penelope, and there are two of them. And there's a dark teal one. There's always a theme. Dark teal is a thing for me, and that's called Blackheath Woods. And there is also I would say very light minty green colour, and that is called Sweet Alice. And they are both bespoke colourways, and they go rather nicely together with this dark teal and a much lighter mint green. Now these are not colours that I would normally go to at all, but I took the advice of the two girls that were behind the counter, and they were really good and really helpful. And there was a point where the shop completely cleared out, and I was able to take loads of video footage of the whole of the shop without other people interrupting or getting in my way. So with the video that I'll put together, you will see the whole of Stephen and Penelope's shop, including all of the other colours available with Undercover Otter. So yeah, another design that needs to happen, but it's quite hard to come by, and whilst I don't have to pay postage and packaging prices, and I can work with a new up and coming yarn dyer, it seemed like a sensible thing to do. Albeit they were €25 each, so given our rubbish exchange rate at the moment, they were quite expensive, but I wouldn't get the chance to get those again. I don't think you can get the bespoke colourways online. I might be wrong about that, but like I say, without postage and packaging, it seems like a sensible way of doing it. So I have quite a haul, and not just yarn, lots of lovely things from lovely people as well. And yeah, I feel really just happy, and I love the idea that this common thread of crafting is bringing people together, and it has such a positive effect on the way that people feel. Like when these parcels arrived, I was like, my heart was skipping a beat. I just was so happy that they'd been sent to me, and that people had taken the time out to send me something. It was really lovely. So thank you, Tanya and Debs and Yael. It was very well received and muchly appreciated. Muchly appreciated? Is that a thing? Greatly appreciated. Not muchly appreciated. It was greatly appreciated. Thank you. We're moving on to Big Up, and I have got a couple of podcasts for you and a yarn to take a look at. So the first podcast is a new crochet one. Yippee! It's by Claudia, who I mentioned earlier. She was the one that put me onto the standing treble and standing double crochet technique. And Claudia started podcasting about a month ago now, and she's got 3 episodes out, maybe just had a 4th one come out, and she's just so lovely. She's very natural and has got a real zeal for crochet and a love for it, and she lives in California, and it's a YouTube, so it's a viewing podcast, and it's just really nice, and she's like one of life's lovely people, and so I'd encourage you to go and check her out. I will pop links into the show notes so you can get them there, That's Crochet Luna, and it's a crochet podcast. And the other one that I've come across came via an Instagram feed that was from Colleen, who is Salops, and she'd put me onto another podcast which is called Fibre Friends. Now, I really love podcasts as a means of me having people in and around the house, so I'm not on my own, so I watch quite a lot of them, and I listen to quite a few as well, and I really like that thing of just having a voice and having somebody talking in the background and being able to look up and see what they're up to as well. And Fibre Friends is 3 ladies who are all daft as brushes. They really make me laugh. So it's predominantly knitting, but it's a really interesting one because they all do quite specific things within the fibre sector. So Adrian is a professor by day, but she also dyes yarn as well, and I'm not sure how much of it she sells because she seems to just give it to Louise and Caroline all the time. But she's got an Etsy shop, so I'll provide links for that. Louise teaches knitting and also design, so I think she does quite a few workshops. And also Caroline, I'm not sure what she does during the day. I think she does bookkeeping and stuff and has like multiple things that she has to do. But she also makes bags with her sister-in-law, Project Bags, and they have an Etsy store as well, so I'll provide all of the links. They are long podcasts, and I don't mind that. I actually really like that because then I don't have to keep on trying to find a new one to watch and a new one to watch, and because there are 3 of them, it automatically makes it longer. They have lots and lots of fun. There are bits when they have tears rolling down their faces. I really love it, and you can see that they've got such a lovely rapport with each other and a really lovely strong friendship, and they can take the mick out of each other as well, which I love it when people aren't too serious. So yeah, have a look at that, Fibre Friends, and again that is on YouTube, so another visual one to go for. And the other thing that I wanted to mention and big up was a set of yarns. It's not just one yarn, it's a set. Some of you may well remember Artisanal yarns, and unfortunately they are no longer a business, but the stock of Artisanal was bought by a lady called Polly Jane, and Pauline, who is Polly Jane Yarns, actually has been able to buy in new wool from the same supplier that Artisanal had. So if you were a big fan of Artisanal yarns and it was available worldwide, then you would have the potential to actually get very similar yarn back again via Polly Jane. So what I'll do is put up the photos that I took when I saw Pauline at our trunk show about 2 months ago now, and then I'll pinpoint you towards her website, because she's got the range that she's getting, which is the stuff that's very similar to the Artisanal range as was, including a really beautiful silk blend that they used to do, and Pauline's managed to get something very similar, and it's lovely to feel. But she also she also dyes some of her own yarn as well. So I'll provide photos, you'll be able to see what they all look like, but have a look at Polly Jane yarns and see what you think. Links will be in the show notes and also on screen. That leaves me with what's good, and I've got a couple of little ones. One is, I think I've persuaded Matthew to let me go to the John Arbon Open Mill Days. They're being held on the 10th and 11th of June, and it is no secret that I am a massive fan of what John and Juliet did. I thoroughly enjoyed being able to go down there and interview John about his process and just see the passion and enthusiasm that he has got for fibre, and seeing their old mill machinery being lovingly looked after and used day in day out. And also on the back of that weekend that Matthew and I had down in Devon, you know, we've got a really nice friendship there with John and Juliet, and so that idea of being able to go down and see the mill opening and see how other people react to John Urban Textiles yarn is really fascinating for me. So Matthew might come down. It is Download Weekend, which is like a metal festival. So I don't know. I'm hoping. I suggested it, he said that's Download Weekend. And I went, oh okay. And he was like, yeah, but it's Joan and Juliet, so like, who needs download? Good husband, good husband. You don't need loud heavy metal music, you need wool in your life. We'll see. I might hold him to that one. And the other thing that I've got as a what's good is that Woolfest is coming up, and that's one of my other favourite wool shows within the UK. It's up at Cockermouth in Cumbria in the Lake District, and John and Juliet will be there vending, Tanya will be there with her Dorset buttons, lots of people that I know. I did hear on their podcast that Laura from the All in And podcast, I think she's going, but I don't know what day she's going. So if anybody else is going, that is the next festival that I'm heading to. So if you want to meet up, it'd be lovely to meet up with you. Just let me know what day you're going to be there, because as of yet I could go either on the 23rd of June or the 24th. I think the 23rd is slightly quieter, but I could go on the Saturday if I needed to. So if you're heading to Woolfest, drop me a line and let me know if you want to meet up for a coffee and show me what you've bought, and I can squidge what you've bought and be utterly jealous, because I don't think I need to buy any more for a good long while for designs. I think I've got enough to be cracking on with. So that's what's good. Yeah. Right, my lovelies, I am done. Hopefully this podcast finds you well, and you've had a great month, you all had a great Easter, and then you've all got sunshine coming your way, because summer is but round the corner. So I shall talk to you again in a month's time. Remember, I'm on Ravelry and Instagram if you want to chat in between the podcast recording. And yeah, it's always nice to have contact from everyone, and to have the thumbs up and the subscribe button hit and the like button hit, and to have, you know, nice conversations going on Ravelry and Instagram. So I shall see you soon. Thank you very much. Over and out. Bye bye. It's a big jump. You can do it. You're a big boy. Come on. Go, 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 go. Well, that was close. Let's see, hello. Look at that curly piggy tail. Very cute. Look at those big green eyes. Right. You want to lie down? No, that's not how this is going down. Oh my word, kitten. Right, are we ready? Are you going to take over? Which way? It's going to be fun today. Right. Coffee. Come on. Stop farting about. That's not a good start. Flaming Nora. And in episode 16, Faye chokes to death. Right, I also finished my Ocasso shawl for the Tunisian crochet along, and I'm really Right, I think we're ready. Let's go, people. Let's do this thing.